Okay, we've started the alignment process. The first thing I always do is a PLL circuit alignment. So I go in through the 10240 frequency crystal. On this radio it is test point 2, and I need to adjust CT3, which is down there next to the test point 3. I've done that. It's sitting on 10240 and it's stable. That's good. The next stage is to align the 10525 frequency alignment, and that will be done at test point 3, which is down here, and I'll be adjusting CT1 and CT2. CT1 will be in USB and CT2 will be in lower sideband. Alright, upper sideband needs to be set to 2105, so I'll just do that. Okay, so I'm just going to adjust CT2, which is this one here, to okay, CT1 is now sitting on the correct frequency. So I'm now going to switch to lower sideband and adjust CT2. It was CT1 the last one, sorry. For 1035. And there we go there, rock solid. I'll just flick back and check upper sideband. And it's bang on where it's meant to be. All right, so that's promising. Now I played around with the VCO. It's actually got issues, so I'm just going to replace that with a Razor Radio's Cybernet equivalent VCO. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, Ray builds a nice package there. It comes already aligned for the circuit. You just do some minor tweaking. I'll just zoom in on it. There we go. It's actually the frequency response and the RF filtration of this VCO stacks up really well. It's actually some of the tests Ray's done recently. It outperforms the OEM VCO that was made in the 70s. So I'll put that in and let's see what happens. Okay, for the point of this video, to replace the VCO, what we need to do is desolder these 3 pins. These 2 pins, and then I've also just marked for the video, that's the O2A area there. I'm going to, after we've put the new VCO in, I'm going to desolder that and put in a chip holder if we get the radio stable. Thank you. Okay, we've flipped the radio over again. I just use a set of stainless steel pliers. These are surgical ones. And we pull the VCO out. Okay, VCO is out. Now on first inspection, we can have a look at this. You see the cracked slug? So it's obviously been a problem before and somebody's given up on it. Alright, let's put the new one in. Now this is a bit fiddly, this stage. You need to make sure you line the legs up with the holes on both sides. This is the 2-leg side. The one closest to the can, or the shield, is the 3-leg side. A bit of patience and a bit of light. And I overhang the radio over the bench, so when the legs drop through, you know that it's been done. All right. Okay, the VCO's in, it's ready to be soldered, and I've just bent the legs towards the nearest pin on the same track. When you put this in, it's always good to slightly push down on the VCO to make sure it's seated and it's level and everything's symmetrical. Remember, take pride in your work. So I just do this, keep a little finger with a little amount of pressure on it, and then I bend the legs over, and now I'll solder. Okay, the soldering job's done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've also gone back and just reflowed the earth connections for the steel can, which we're not using. Interesting, this earth here, we can see that somebody has been in here before and removed this VCO. There's a gouge here in the board. You can see the age of that gouge. And this part here missing. What else have I done? I'll mark those red in a second so that I know that, so anybody working on this radio can see that it's replaced in the future. You can remember the bottom of the 40 channel selector. I went through and you couldn't see any of these. I scrubbed and cleaned these up. Interesting what I found underneath the flux. This particular track here had a lot of solder splatter on it. This one here had a ball of solder in between these two tracks. Now what I use to clean this and expose the track so that I can then continue with my restoration is I use dental tools and I scrape away any of the corrosion or foreign particles that aren't meant to be there. I also go around all the connections and break the flux to make sure we don't have any joined connections. You can do that with a multimeter, but I just want to make sure that all material is removed from in between the tracks. Again, that's 101 soldering hygiene. Now let's see if we've got any improvements here. Okay, radio's on, mic's plugged in. We have the meter hooked up, here the power meter. We're still not getting any audio through on AM. Okay. We've got TX, yep. Oh, look at that. The meter's moving, look at that. We'll go over to the bird. And look at that, 4 watts. And we need some work on the frequency. We're about, 1 and a bit kc's out. All right, let's put her into sideband. Audio. Okay, audio. Okay, so we've got some work there. So let's just go down to channel 1. TX. We've got the 5 watts. Again, we're slightly out. Let's go to channel 40. TX. 4 watts. And 1 and a bit out. Well, good on you, Ray. That's spot on. I haven't had to do anything on this one. All right, there we go. So we're gradually moving forward. We started off with this radio not doing anything, and now we've got TX. I'll now put in I'll now desolder that 02A and put in a chip holder. Okay, these are the areas that we're going to desolder. Now just a word of caution, the O2A chip doesn't like heat like most ICs. So what we're going to do is this is how I do it, okay? I'll desolder here, desolder here. It's like stitching it or welding. And I'll go opposites until all the tracks are done. And I don't leave the soldering iron on this for any longer than a couple of seconds. Thank you. Okay, desoldering's all done. Then what I do, once I've removed the solder, I go through and use my tool and I just break or move the leg away from the solder so that we've got no contact, so that it's an easy process of pulling it out on the flip side. Okay, so the O2A is under the channel selector, and as you can see it's pretty tight in there. So what I'm going to do is come in again with my tool and slightly move it. You can see there. And then I'll come in from the other side through the hole and lift it from there. And now I'll go in with my pliers and remove. Now when it comes to the O2A, once you've got it out, you will actually bend pins. So it's a matter of getting your chip holder, getting your pins and lining them all back up so that they fit into the chip holder. The other thing that you also might do is carefully between your fingers put pressure and bend the pins so that they line up easily into the chip holder. If not, when putting into this radio, you might actually, a leg may pop out and you may not know about it if it's on the inside if you don't double check your work. Alright, going to insert the chip holder. Okay, chip holder's in. Remember, similar theme here, consistent theme, take pride in your work. So, what I generally do is I expose all of these through-hole connectors. They're not used. It looks a lot neater when you finish soldering. See how even everything is? No solder, no flux splatter, no beads, nothing. That's what your goal is to aim after you've cleaned this. Okay? You don't want to look like someone's been in and butchered your radio. Just for a bit of scale, they're my tweezers, which are just, I have a set of Vetus ASDs. Bit of an overkill for this type of work, but when you get big fat fingers, everything helps. I'll now put the chip in. Oh, one thing I didn't point out before when we installed the chip holder, on the board it has a marking for the direction. You can see it right there, that little nipple. There's a nipple on the end of the holder. That's a direction you want those two to line up. And on the O2A, like any chip, there's a nipple there, and that just shows you what direction it needs to be put in. Okay, got the trusty pliers. No, sorry. There we go. We're going to put it down and we're going to seat it. Okay, the chip's in. It's seated. I've double checked all the connections on both sides. There's no poor connections or bent pins. And so now we've done the VCO and the O2A chip. Okay, the board work's done for today. I've just gone through with the whiteboard marker and highlighted the areas that we worked on. I'm not going to do anything around the channel selector lugs at this point because I've only cleaned that area, and as soon as I desolder, I will put a mark on it to know that that's where I've been through. So that's how the board's looking at the moment. I'll post this video, and thank you.